Hello and welcome to my knitting video podcast. My name on Instagram is Heart and I'm based in Birmingham, England. I'm coming to you today from my home office. The whole house is completely topsy-turvy because we're finally putting our wood burner in, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, I'm in the back corner of my home office. You might notice it looks a bit different. We have been sorting out my grandmother's house because she passed away a few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago now, and so I've been acquiring lots and bits and bobs from her house, which is lovely and sad all at the same time. And one of those things was this chest of drawers. It was my brother's in like the 80s, I think, or the 70s. My mum's very attached to it, and it is a very solid piece of furniture, I'll give it that. So we got rid of what was there before. When I say got rid, someone else now has it. It always brings me great joy to get rid of modern things I don't like and replace them with old strong pieces of furniture. So yeah, lucked out a bit there. But it means the house, there's boxes of things everywhere. There's holes in the floor for the wood burner. I mean actual holes in the floor. I can currently see from the attic bedroom into the living room, which is a little bit freaky. If my partner's in the living room and he says something, I can hear him from the bedroom. It's a bit odd. But yeah, so absolute chaos in the house at the moment. September's finally here. Despite it being really bright and sunny at the moment, it's actually been really rainy and horrid. But as the sun is out, I thought I would take the time to film. I am hoping I can do this all in one take and not make any cuts and not put any photos in or any text, because that means I can just upload it straight away if I don't put any videos in the start or music. So I'm sorry if this video is really bog standard, but things, as mentioned, personally and work-wise are really busy at the moment. So I wanted to film an update, but I don't have the time to edit this, not really. I'd rather use that time for other things, as mentioned in this video, so I'm hoping I can just upload this without any additions or extras. So, what have I got to share with you today? My first finished object has been a long-term whip. This is something I started in January, and I'm so pleased they're finally finished. So it is these socks. So these are, the colour work from this is taken from a pattern by Rachael. Marjamaa. Her Instagram name is Pikkukimalainen. She used to do a podcast. She hasn't done one in quite a while. I really love her vibe and aesthetic. And she created a pattern called the Harvest Moon Socks, and it's an all-over colourwork sock, which for me is really overwhelming for a sock that seems like quite a lot of work, but they're absolutely stunning. And being that for me this is quite an autumnal winter vibe, I am only going to wear these with boots probably, so I decided just to take some charts and do the colour work on the leg where it was visible only. So I knit the cuff and then I tried them on as I was knitting the leg to make sure that the colour work was visible above my boots, because when I did my mushroom socks last autumn, this was where I went a bit wrong and you can't see the mushrooms above my boots, so I can only wear them with my buckle shoes, which is fine. They look really nice with my buckle shoes, but that does give me a shorter season of wear with them, which again isn't necessarily a problem. They'll probably last longer, but I wanted these to have some longer term wear. I'm also noticing that the longer the leg on the sock, the more I wear them. And I need to be a little bit less lazy with my sock knitting and just knit a few more rounds. I get really bored knitting legs on socks. Obviously there's nothing you can do about the foot. You have to knit the foot the length it needs to be, so I usually do force myself to do that. But yeah, so the yarn I've used is for the charcoal colour, which I think is the name of the colour. It's a Lang Jowell sock yarn, and it's the one that comes with the reinforcement thread inside. So that means the heels and toes are super strong. I've knit a couple of pairs of socks on this before, including my mushroom socks actually, and they're really hard wearing. And then the colour work section, maybe it's more visible. visible on this one. No. I think it probably is most visible there. Is a very slightly variegated yarn, or maybe it's more of a speckled yarn by Nervus Fibre, and so it means the moons are not totally flat whitey cream. It's in the colourway Haar, and it's her sock yarn. Unfortunately, most of the colour splodges are actually inside on the floats, not visible on the moons, which is so typical. But there we go. So I started these last January around my birthday, and because I signed up to a few test knits that same time, I never finished them. So I was worried that my gauge would change, but it didn't, so I'm really lucky. And I now have a pair of new socks for the autumn, and they do feel really seasonally appropriate. I mean, this is why I didn't finish them over the summer, because black colourwork socks weren't really my jam in the warmer months, but now that it's getting cosy, they definitely are. So I love these. They are one of my favourite knits. I think they're so beautiful. So yes, that. And then another sock finish object and a little bit of a cheat. So my mum learnt to knit socks before I did, and it is what inspired me to learn to knit, because I really loved her hand knitted socks. Bless her, my grandmother used to make me knitted socks, but they were always way too big. I don't think as she got older my grandmother really had much of a grasp on gauge and things like that, or appropriate yarns or anything. She used to knit things and then be really surprised when they turned out too small or too big. So yeah, so my mum started learning to knit socks, and lately she's kind of fallen out of love. I think it's getting quite hard going on her hands now. She's just not interested anymore. So she had a pair of socks where she'd knit 1.5, and was like, can you please just finish them for me? I don't want to do it anymore. And it was made, they were in this yarn. Now I don't know what this is. She thinks it's West Yorkshire Spinners, but I don't think it is, because I don't think it feels very nice. I could be wrong. I've only knit with West Yorkshire Spinners sock yarn once, but I don't remember them feeling like this. I remember them feeling, you know, all right. I didn't really enjoy knitting with this yarn, so I have quite a lot of it left. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. It can go in the sock yarn box for a while. I might end up knitting some gift socks with it in the future. I might end up giving it to a friend if a friend learns to knit socks sometime soon, and they like the look of it, because I don't think with this kind of yarn it would work on anything other than socks, because the way it patterns up. Oh, you know, like another small circular item like fingerless gloves or something, but that's not something that I'm going to be working on anytime soon. So she knit one of these. No, she knit this one in its entirety. So this one was finished. And so I decided, and so the other one she'd knit part of the heel flap, but it completely gone a bit wrong, to be honest. She'd gotten really confused, and it was a bit all scuppered from the heel flap onward. So I ripped out the heel flap and I went back, and so I've knit from here down on this one. So I copied the size of the foot on the first one she had done, because she said they were for my sister-in-law, and I assumed that meant that my sister-in-law had smaller feet. I have no idea. And so I finished them, and then my mum said something like she had size 7 feet, and I was like, Mum, they don't fit me, and I have size 6.5 feet. They're not going to fit someone size 7 feet. Like, I don't know what you were thinking. I think that's a size 5 foot. I mean, I can get them on, but then they are stretched and the heel isn't in the right place, and that just means they'll wear through really quick. So Mum was like, oh, I was kind of hoping I could have them, and I was like, well, they don't fit me, so they don't fit you, because we have the same size feet. I think you need to find someone with size 5 feet. My aunt has size 5 feet, so I am going to put these in the drawer for a Christmas present for her, so it's not all wasted, and they'll be from my mum and me, which I think is quite nice. Also one less present to worry about, so that's good. But yeah, so it was a basic sock pattern, not anything overly complicated. I just worked out how many stitches she had done and just kind of followed a basic sock recipe from that. So that's all good. And then I do have some sock whips to talk about, but I think I will save those for the whip section. If we're going to carry on talking about finished objects, I have one major finished object. So in my last podcast, I mentioned that I had a cropped jumper that looked awful. It was a Felix pullover like this one. It was kind of the same shape and size as this, but I didn't know what I was doing and all the stitches were twisted. I think I knit this one immediately after. The short rows in the back on this one are twisted, but I figured out what I was doing and the rest is knit completely fine. This is a DK held with a lace weight. So, sorry, I should have said what I was wearing. This is the Felix pullover. Knit in the smallest size. It's heavily cropped. It's knit in Ramble by Williow and Lark in like a grey brown colour, held with a lace weight of Alpaca by Isager in like an ochre colour. So it's got this lovely kind of, it's blowing out a bit, but like this mottled colour. I live in this jumper. I wear absolutely tons with my waisted skirts. It works really well. And this is totally one of my colours. So the other one wasn't so successful because I didn't know what I was doing, which is fine. I was a new knitter. So I decided, because the colour was really nice, and it was superwash wool, but it was Rowan superwash, so it wasn't like the cheapest yarn, although I did get it on sale. And it was actually a gift from my partner, so I didn't pay for it at all. But I decided, because I had a lot spare as well, it wasn't just what I'd made the jumper with, I had another 3 balls in the cupboard, that I was going to rip it out and re-knit it. So I now have a cardigan, which I think I can put on. Are there any pins left in it? 1 or 2. I'll put on one side. Maybe I can put the whole thing on. Just a bit worried about the pin catching. So I went up a needle size. Sorry, didn't go up a needle size. I went up a garment size. And so last time I knit it only with the Rowan wool, which is this one. I'm not really sure what weight it was. I think it said it was Aran, but I'm not actually convinced it is. And then I had in my stash some drops Kid Silk Haze in a darker green. But I thought, well, I have this. This needs to be a bit thicker for the gauge to work because it looked really bad on its own last time. So I combined them, and so it is quite a bit bigger than the last garment. I did have to use a little bit more than I used last time, but I also added a steek down the middle, so I added some extra stitches. So the only challenging thing was working out where to put those steek stitches, because I'm trying to work out where the beginning of round was so that the short rows were in the right place, and so were the increases. So what did I do? I cast on the number of stitches and worked the neckband, the neck ribbing flat. I then knit to the middle of that and started my short rows from there. Yeah. And so you knit the short rows front and back, so that's coming from about here, around the back to about here, going back and forth, back and forth. And then I just followed the pattern for the jumper in the round, as you would, but obviously when I got to my steek stitches, I did purl knit or something for seven stitches. I did quite a wide steek because it's superwash yarn, and I thought it might all come undone and spring apart. When I finished, I did quite a lot of reinforcement stitching, cut it up the middle of those 7 steek stitches, and picked up stitches for the band. I did that, and then I trimmed, and I can show you because I haven't finished. I trimmed the steek back quite dramatically and then stitched in some ribbon. Now, I have to say, this is not something I'm very good at. It's not very tidy. My hand stitching, for someone who's been sewing for years, my hand stitching is absolutely appalling. I also really hate sewing the ribbons in. It's not something I particularly enjoy doing. My second one is going a bit better. I don't know, anybody has any top tips for sewing and steek ribbons, tell me, because no matter what I do, it just looks messy. And then I raided my grandmother's button tin. I'm trying not to spend money unnecessarily at the moment because I have a really big trip coming up in November and it's costing me a fortune, which is okay, but it means I don't really have money to spend frivolously on things at the moment. So normally I probably would have bought some buttons for this because I couldn't find any in the box I actually liked. I am not overly keen on these because they're plastic, but they are my grandmother's and I am one short, so I just haven't put one on the end there, but that's okay. You know, it is what it is. So yeah, I just made this completely from stash. I already had the pattern, I already had all the yarn and the ribbon, absolutely everything. So yeah, I really love it. It is super squishy, it's really comfortable. I can wear it next to skin. It's absolutely perfect for what I needed. So yeah, I'm just gonna grab a quick drink. Oh, sorry, I think actually my drink might be behind me. Sorry, I'm trying to do this in one take, so there might be a few moments of me being a bit funny. But yes, I realised I don't really have many knits in my wardrobe that I can throw over a linen tank top or something like that. So at this time of year, when you're still wearing a few summery items, but you want a little bit of knitwear, I don't really have many things that are appropriate that aren't just too much. I can wear this on bare skin, but wearing a jumper over a tank top isn't always something I want to do. Like, I still want a bit of air to circulate and stuff. So a cardigan that I can wear on bare skin is really good. I would really like to knit a more rustic, oversized cardigan. I think I mentioned last time that I really want to make like a ribbed cardigan out of Juliet or something like that, and I'm waiting for Loop London to get some in stock in my colours, because I have a gift voucher for that. So I think that'll be my next major knit project that I buy yarn for. But yeah, so that's my other finished object. And then my massive whip fiasco. So last time I shared a whip with this gorgeous green yarn from Shilsadair. It's naturally dyed and it's a blend of Wensleydale and something else. I actually can't remember. No, I don't have the thing here. But I started the pattern, the Drimy Shawl, and I've knit quite a lot, but I'm really not very happy with it. So I've put this on quite a long needle to try and show you. Can you see how bumpy it is and how seized up it is? So I'm not a big shawl knitter. I have knit 3 now. This was my first shawl I knit, so this is the Waiting for Rain shawl. I've knit this in Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co. It was a Gotland mass and blend, I think, and I absolutely love this. I wear it, postman, I wear it all the time. The colour maybe isn't my favourite, it's faded a lot, and actually when I bought the yarn, when it arrived, it wasn't the colour I thought it was going to be. I think it's the faded peony colour, or it's the peony but it's on a grey base, so it looked a bit more grungy. I think I thought it was going to be a little bit more orange than it was. But I surprised myself and I wear this all the time. It actually weirdly is a bit of a neutral and goes with everything. I did think I might over dye it to be more orangey one day, but until it fades so much that it looks super grungy, I won't. You know, for fear of ruining it, because I love the way it feels. It's still one of my favourite feeling yarns because it is really rustic but completely next to skin. If she did this again, I'd be so tempted to knit a cardigan in this. That would be a bit of an indulgence, but yeah, or a jumper. Absolutely love it. But the reason why I picked it up is, I don't know if you can see, but it does this weird kind of, the pattern, not the yarn, does this weird curly thing. And it's because no matter how hard I tried when I blocked it, I couldn't block it flat. Can you see it's all bumpy? And this edge is just too tight. Now I think it's like knit 2 yarn over at the start and the end of every row. And that gives you that kind of seized up sort of tight edge. I don't like triangular shawls. For me it's too much. A crescent shawl that reads more modern in my kind of sort of grungy, not modern way of dressing, if that makes any sense. And a triangular shawl for me is just too much. I think I've mentioned this before, like I live in a city, I don't live in the countryside. Sometimes I feel like I stand out quite a lot already, because I'm not wearing like fashionable clothes or whatever, and that's fine, I don't want to. But I have a comfort level of how much I'm willing to not blend in. And crescent shawls are my limit because I wear them around my neck like a scarf. I don't really want to knit a scarf because I do like the shawl concept. I like that when I'm at home I can wear it like a shawl if I want to, or like a blanket, or I can like cuddle up to it when I'm travelling, like on the plane. It's quite useful. So trying to find a crescent shawl pattern that doesn't have that kind of tight edge, a complete and utter nightmare. There aren't any, I don't think. There is a couple by Stephen West maybe. Is it the Dustland Shawl? But I don't really like them. I wanted something that had a lot of garter and some lace, like that, but without that edge. And I couldn't find one, so I found this free pattern, the Dreamy Shawl, and as I went into a lot of detail in my last podcast, which you can watch if you want to know what I was going on about, and I thought I'd solved the problem because I thought there was a bit of stretch in this edge, but it's not enough. I've put it on a longer cable and I can see it's just not enough, and it's going to be worse, I think. So I don't know whether to persevere or not. Plus there's this really strange bit at the top that keeps folding over, so I don't know what to do. If anybody knows of a crescent shawl that hasn't got that kind of edge, that has some lace and some garter, please tell me. Because I might just knit that pattern from here on forever every time I want a shawl. I have tried to knit this 3 times now and I'm really sick of it. So I was getting really angry and upset the other night, and a friend said to me, just put it away and think about it another time. I was like, but I've wasted so much time and I really want this to be a shawl because the yarn is gorgeous. And so I thought, right, I have other gorgeous yarn. I'm just going to pick up another shawl pattern. And this same friend said to me, why don't you knit a birds of a feather shawl in your daughter of a shepherd yarn. I always get farmer daughter and daughter of a shepherd wrong. One's American, one's English, I think. So for my birthday last year, with one of my gift cards, I bought this yarn. So this is Broom 4-ply. And it's a combination of northern sheep breeds, or like sheep from up north, and it's rustic and it's very sheepy. It's probably not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's beautiful. So this really rich heathery brown, that's very accurate, with quite a lot of fuzz and halo in a rustic way. So I knit the birds of a feather before, and I should have grabbed that to show you, but it was in a hand-dyed merino by Viola and the Moon, and a silk alpaca linen lace weight naturally dyed by Woolen Flower. Yes, and it's beautiful, but it's a bit fancy. So my friend suggested, why don't I knit a rustic one colour one with this yarn? And because I know I like the shape, because it's like a weird long triangular shape, so it is a triangle shawl, but irregular, and it's long, so you don't wear it necessarily with like a point down, or that you can, it has more of that like long shape. So if a crescent shawl was a triangle, that would be it. So this is how far I've got. And because I'm only using one colour, there'll only be the two ends to weave in at the start and end, because I can split splice the yarn together because it's wool. And it's just super easy because it's masses of garter and then a little bit of lace and then more garter. And so this, I'm really, really enjoying this at the moment. I've only been knitting on it a couple of evenings, and that's all I want to knit on at the moment. I don't want to knit anything else. I just want to knit on this. Yeah, so, and I've got a stitch marker from under the Williow pottery on there. And yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. I haven't really got anything else to say about it. I'm trying not to get too distracted by it because I have quite a lot of practical things I should be doing, which is something I think I'm going to talk about now. Because we're about to change into a colder season, I really need to be working on mending things, preparing for being colder, basically, looking at my wool socks, making sure they haven't got holes in. Well, that is actually a sewing project to finish. Actually, I think I've got some here. Making leggings, because I have no leggings that haven't got holes in. And I thought I had a pair here with me. 1 second. But yeah, lots of like, you know, fixing up garments that don't fit properly. My jeans are wearing through in the commonplace jeans wear away, so I need to fix those. I need to sort out the steek on that cardigan because I was wearing it after I cut it open, but I hadn't sewn the ribbons in. I was a bit worried about the steek coming apart. Little things like that, re-knitting toes on socks. So I'm trying to chip away at those jobs and then treat myself to a few rows on the shawl. And do it like that, so that I feel like I'm still making progress on my shawl, but I'm also getting the boring stuff done as well. So one of those projects, which I'm going to share, for the last 5-6 years, I've pretty much made all my own leggings, because a decent pair of leggings probably cost about 15 quid, if not more. Cheap leggings. I used to, when I was a student, buy my leggings from Forever 21, which I think is an American shop, and I don't think they exist in England anymore. And they were cheap, they were about £4 or £5, and they actually did last quite well. But I, for the life of me, since then haven't been able to find anything as good quality at a price I could afford, really, because £20 for a pair of leggings isn't something I'm going to do. And so I started making my own. It's really not that hard. And I have done a sort of tutorial on Instagram and saved it under my highlights. But you know, broadly speaking, you just need to get a pair of leggings that you've completely worn through, that are fit for the bin, cut them up where the seams are, as close to the seams as possible, trace that shape out, add a seam allowance on, cut that out twice, sew up the inside of the legs using a zigzag stitch, sew the crotch together, fold down the waistband, add in an elastic, and you're done. So I bought 2 meters of 4-way stretch jersey, so that is important, it needs to be 4-way stretch, and made myself 2 pairs of leggings. So I'm just stuck in a ribbon at the back because it's really hard to tell when you're getting dressed quickly what's the front and what's the back. So leggings for me are a must when bare legs are no longer an option. I have never got on with tights. I always feel like tights just fall down on me. I don't have any hips, so I don't know whether it's, well, when I say I don't have any hips, I obviously have hips. I have quite a straight down figure, and they just fall off, and I don't know whether it's because of that or because they're bad fitting tights or I'm buying bad tights. I don't know. But I've had enough. I just can't be bothered always pulling them up. They're just not comfortable. And I think actually I find leggings more breathable, so they keep me warmer without having that horrid like sweaty ick factor for me. and I don't have to worry about them snagging on things. You know, if a dog jumps up at me, it's not really the end of the world most of the time. So yes, I really do encourage you to have a go at making your own leggings, because I think the fabric was £10 a metre and I got 2 pairs out of that, so that's £10 a pair. I have in the past managed to get 3 pairs out of 2 meters. I appreciate my size has something to do with that, and yeah, I don't know why I couldn't get 3 pairs out of this 2 meters. Maybe the fabric wasn't as wide, maybe I cut them out badly, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm really happy, and yeah, they don't take that long to make either. An hour to make 2 pairs. That's not that bad, especially if you're batch making. So that was that quick finished object. So I was going to, yeah, so I'm talking about, sorry, I lost my train of thought, talking about winter prepping. So another thing I decided I wanted to do was, I had a couple of pairs of socks early on from when I was knitting socks that I just knit a bit too short, including these, which I absolutely love. They're made from the Fibre Company Ramble. And so this is a yarn that has alpaca, a bit of nylon and something else, and it's actually quite drapey. And it's got a so-called eco-friendly superwash process on it. I don't really know what that means, to be honest. But the colours are really lovely. But to be honest, the foot is too short. And I had another pair that I'd knit, which were also too short. And I worn these ones a lot, more than these. And I don't know why though, because I actually prefer these. Maybe a plain grey sock is more wearable than a stripy one. But I'd worn through the toe on these twice and mended them twice, and it looked like it was about to happen again. So I decided enough was enough, that I was going to just, and I'm going to do the same to these probably, cut the toe off 1 or 2 rows above where the brown starts, and then thread my tiny circular needle in on the last row of the grey, and then pull off the rest of the brown, and then re-knit the toe, which is what I'm doing here. And I'm re-knitting them with John Arbon Exmoor sock and some sewing thread, which is something a friend recommended, to reinforce the toes a bit more. Exmoor sock does have nylon, but I'm coming to realise it is my toes that abuse my socks in my boots. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I've got quite a big toe, I think, which is a bit unfortunate. But there we go. So I'm nearly done with that one. Now, it didn't take very long. I have to be honest, re-cutting off the toe and re-knitting it probably took me 45 minutes if I actually focused on it and did it. But I kept procrastinating and picking up my shawl. So it took me an evening to do that one and this. But I'm hoping to finish that other one soon. And then I'm going to do the same with this one, but I can't decide whether I'm going to do it in the original brown yarn or not, because it has that brown yarn up here. So I don't know. Part of me thinks it would be really good to kind of knit this a bit longer. I affectionately call these my Kirsten socks. For those of you in the States, you might know about the American Girl doll collection. When I was little, I was really lucky, I had 2. Though I live in England, I'm half American, my grandparents are American, and that's what my birthday and Christmas presents were for, you know, many years. Not the dolls, that was my parents, but like they would send me clothes and books and things like that. And it's a really beautiful concept, which sadly I don't think is quite the same anymore. like the historical dolls, they represent different periods of American history. The clothes were all historically kind of themed, and then the books were all about like that fictional character's life and like really serious stuff. So Kirsten was the one I chose. My mum actually chose for me Samantha, which she was a Victorian, so she was, I think, late Victorian, so like the onset of the suffragette movement, women's rights, things like that. And she was wealthy, she was from a wealthy family, so she had like pink taffeta dresses and like lacy white aprons and like, you know, really nice clothes, white patent shoes with pink bows, like really girly stuff. But it was Kirsten that I chose, and Kirsten was a pioneer from Sweden. An immigrant from Sweden. She came over with her family on the boat, and her best friend died of cholera in the first story. And I still remember reading that. I was, what, 7 or 8? It was heartbreaking. Her best friend died of this disease, and I remember just being really shocked and upset that at the start of this book series, that's what happened. And it's about her going to America and with her family. I think maybe her father had gone over ahead, and she was coming over with her mother and her siblings, and them setting up their new life, potentially building a house and all of that. And like completely the other end of the spectrum with the story. And anyway, I'm really rambling here. Proper nostalgia for me. She had these woolly brown socks in 2 different shades of brown, and so these colours really remind me of her. And to be honest, I really do think that I channel Kirsten vibes in my clothing style today, because all I want to wear is clumpy boots and like linen skirts and dresses, which is pretty much exactly what I'm doing. Don't try and show you. No, I'm going to fall off my chair. So yeah, so I would like these to be a bit longer. They're too short, basically. All that to say, like, so I could cut off the rib and knit the rib a bit longer, but I think it would throw the proportions off. So I think I just need to accept these are short socks, and maybe one day I do have more of the yarn, but not enough of these colours actually. I can knit another pair of Kirsten socks and make them a bit longer. These might have to be house socks. So yeah, so I don't know whether I'm going to reknit the toe in the same and just knit the toe a bit longer so it doesn't wear through as quick, because the reason why these are wearing through is because they're too short in the foot. One of the reasons, or whether I'm going to knit them in the Exmoor sock like I am the other pair, because I think that might be a harder wearing yarn. But I have to say I don't really like the feel of Exmoor sock with a strand of sewing thread. It does feel a bit rough. So I might wear the other ones for a bit, see what I think, and then do these. I don't know. I have also noticed that the sole of the foot on those other socks is wearing through, so I might need to do something about that. I did see someone pick up some stitches, kind of knit flat and then knit it down, but I'm not really sure how you secure the edges or the top of that flap, and whether that would feel really bulky underfoot or whether that would actually be okay. Because my nan did some rather crazy scrappy patch on a pair of my slipper bed socks, and I don't know whether that was, I'm sorry Nan, bad technique or a bad idea, but you really feel it under your foot. So it's you know, for slipper socks I would say that's kind of okay, but I'm not sure whether if you had whether you were wearing them as like normal socks in your shoes, whether that would feel unbearable. But yeah, I have one more finish object, which is not a garment, and then a question to pose about future knits. Yes, prepare for some cuteness. Meet my new friend that has no name. Did I mention I was making this last time? I can't remember. I bought a kit when I went to a craft fair recently for making a bear. It came with no instructions because I'm a cheapskate sometimes. It was cheaper to buy the pattern with no instructions, so that's exactly what I did. So that was interesting. And that's why it's a bit crooked. because I went a bit wrong a few times trying to work out what I was doing. Like, the ears might be in the wrong place. I feel like they should be a bit higher up. When I first did it, the ears were like up here. It looked really silly because I couldn't work out the headpieces. But this is my bear, and I love it. And yes, I'm a child and I don't care. So this is a pattern by Luna Lapin, and they make really, really nice animals in outfits, and I think it's amazing. They are quite expensive, the kits, and I decided, because I already have lots of really nice linen, that I didn't need to buy an outfit kit or anything like that, because you can buy the patterns in book form. But since I bought this kit, I've arranged to go on this really big trip, which I'll mention in a minute, and I now have no money, so I haven't bought the book and I haven't made any clothes. Maybe I'll buy the book next month, or maybe I'll wait to Christmas and ask for the book, because I don't really have time to be making clothes for a bear at the moment anyway. But yes, I made this bear. Has eyes. It's not, doesn't come with joints, but I just bought joints and put them in, so all the arms and everything move. And then in my languishing whip cupboard, I had this start of a shawl. So this was the start of a colour craze shawl in Garthenor lace weight yarn. I feel like I've said some of this before, so apologies if I shared this last time, but I feel like I finished it since we last spoke, so maybe I'm imagining things. But anyway, yes, sorry, 1 second. Okay. I was just checking the time because I had this horrible suspicion I was meant to be doing something else, and I'm not. It's okay. So I started this colour craze shawl and I didn't really like how it looked, so I ripped it back, and I started ripping back, and then I kind of got to more or less this, and I thought, it looks like a shawl for a doll. Maybe it's a waste ripping this back completely, and so I just bound it off with an I-cord edge and decided it was the right size for my bear here. And then I found a free pattern on Ravelry for a cardigan, and I just knit it up as per the instructions, but I stopped doing the stripes after, like, the yoke bit, after I split the sleeves, and my poor bear has just got it on back to front because I wanted jumper vibes, not cardigan vibes. But bless it, its head is quite big, so a cardigan's easier to get on than a jumper. So it hasn't got a name. They haven't got a name, because I want to give it a gender neutral name, because I don't believe my bear should be gendered, and I want it to be not that gender matters whether you wear a dress or not. I want it to be okay for my bear to have a dress or not, or anything, and I don't want it to have any particular role. It's my bear. So I can't think what to name them. So I'm saying it because it's a toy. But then I'm also thinking, like, if this was a person, I would not be calling it an it. But it is an it because it's a toy. So I'm sorry if I'm sounding really clumsy with all of that. But it's my bear, and so if anybody can think of any really cute names, the pattern is named Bramble Bear. I don't like that, so I don't want to call it that. I also don't want to call it the name that it came with, because this is my bear, this isn't the original bear. So yeah, if anybody can think of any cute names, because at the moment I can only think of like really old-fashioned boy names. And as much as I like the name George, I don't want to call it George. I don't feel like it's a George. Yeah, no, maybe it could be. I don't really care if George wears a dress. Maybe it is George. I think there's something cuter I can call it. But anyway, so if anybody's got any good bear names, please do share. My bear that I had growing up is called Oswald, because that's the name that was written on its label. Yeah, so it's Oswald Bear, which sounds really, really posh. But there we go. It kind of came with that name. I didn't really choose it, so there we go. So the last thing I'm going to share with you today are future knitting plans. So I am really in the sock mood at the moment, and I have some really gorgeous rustic sock yarns, which I've shared before. I'm just umming and ahhing about the appropriate pattern for each. Now, you sort of might have seen a minute ago as well, and I'm going to take it off to show you. I've had my Christmas present a bit early. So because I'm taking a really big holiday in November, I'm going to America. I haven't been to America since I was about 8 years old. Half my family are out there. And I'm not going to go into this too much, but it's a pretty massive thing, and I'm quite nervous about it. I haven't used my American passport since forever. And so we're going in November, we're going to the East Coast, and it's my understanding it's going to be really, really cold. Colder than here, which is fine because I can wear all my woolies. So I am equal parts excited, nervous, stressed, and all of the things. And so I told my mother, so sweet, that I've always wanted some Blundstone boots, but I was going to buy them this autumn, but I've spent all my money on flights, and I mean, we haven't booked everything yet because it's a long trip, accommodation, and there's going to be car hire and all of those things. Let's face it, also yarn shopping. And so she said, oh, for your Christmas present, I'll give them to you. I was like, oh, that's amazing, that's really exciting, I can't wait. And she was like, well, have them now, because you ought to have them for your trip and you'll need to break them in. So have a look, see where you can find the best deal. So I finally own some Blundstone boots. I'm really excited. So I now want to knit all the cozy socks to wear with these because they fit perfectly with hand knit socks. I'm between sizes, and I think a size 6 would have been too small, so I had to get a size 7. And why am I going, oh, I don't know, I think it's excitement because I only got them yesterday, and I feel like they were made for me because they're so comfy. So I have some rustic sock yarns I've been collecting previous to me spending all my money on my holiday, and I am umming and ahhing about which patterns to do. These are definitely going to be a 3x1 or 3x2 rib sock with a long leg. It's 100 grams of sport weight, I think, half the sock. No nylon, by Williow and Fibre Co. And in my head, that's what this is. So this is non-negotiable. In order to use all the yarn, I should do a toe-up sock. But I don't like doing the toes and cuffs on a toe-up sock. Well, the toes and the bind off on a toe-up sock, because the bind off usually ends up, oh sorry, I'm seeing funny, a bit flared and doesn't look quite as neat. And my heels, I've only done them once or twice, and I did a Flegel heel in one, that didn't work for me, I just walk out of them, and a short row heel. I'm just not convinced they're as hard wearing as a slip stitch heel, which fit my foot perfectly, and seem to do quite a good job. So I don't really know what the best thing to do for this is. If I do a top down sock, which is what I'm used to doing, I don't know that I will use up all the yarn, I might run out. I don't know. So if anybody has any socks in this yarn and they want to tell me how long they did their leg, that would be great, because then maybe I can use that as a bit of a guide. I don't know. Yeah, so thoughts on that, please share. And then I have these two. I do also have some Exmoor sock in the undyed colour. So my friend sent me a pattern, well, a screenshot of a pattern, although I do think it's a free pattern by Drops. So I think I can just get it for free. And it's got little fir trees at the top. And it's really lovely. And I did think, wouldn't that be beautiful with one of these? And then this for the trees, because that would really stand out. So this is the Snowdonia sock, and this has no nylon. This is the Daughter of a Shepherd Drover sock and has nylon. One of these I want to knit a plain sock with. I don't know which. And the other one, I want to do that colourwork pattern because I do really like the idea of just having some plain socks. But there are two problems with that. Will 50 grams be enough for 2 long enough plain socks to wear with my boots? Do I want a plain sock with no nylon to wear with my boots? Or will I just wear through it really quickly? I would wear a plain sock more often than a colourwork sock, probably. So maybe it would make more sense to knit a plain sock in a nylon reinforced yarn and the colourwork one in the no nylon one. However, my colourwork contrast has nylon, but maybe I could do the heels, toes and colourwork in this and then the rest in this. But then am I wasting the opportunity to see what it's like to have no nylon socks? Am I massively overthinking this? Yes, absolutely. I don't know, if you had these three, what would you be inclined to do? Colourwork does take more time, obviously, than knitting a plain sock, but equally, it's not very much colourwork. It's only about 10 or 12 rows. I am not going to be doing the colourwork on the toes because no one will see that, so I can't be bothered. So it's just on the cuff. So it won't take me that long, so that doesn't really bother me. It's not like my moon socks where there was quite a reasonable chunk. Yeah, let me know what you think. What would you do? Would you knit these with this as a heel toe and cuff or another Exmoor sock colour? Because I do have quite a few colours. I don't know, please share your thoughts. I think the next pair I'm going to do are these. The other thing that's in the back of my mind is my 3-week holiday in America. We'll be doing a lot of travelling. We'll be cold. And there's going to be a week where I'll probably do quite a lot of sitting around when we're with family. And like I will need brain space for that. So maybe a few plain sock patterns or socks where I've already done the colour work or something like that would be good projects to take with me. So part of me is also starting to think about what patterns to take on that trip because it's a long time, it's a lot of knitting time. I do wonder if a basic jumper might actually be better because I could get a jumper done in 3 weeks. And it's not too difficult doing the splitting for sleeves thing now. Maybe I could do another Felix pullover in like a rustic yarn. I don't know, but I'd rather use yarns I've already got. I'm trying not to shop because I will shop whilst I'm there. That's the other thing. I'll probably buy yarn whilst I'm there. So maybe I'll buy some sock yarns whilst I'm there and I can cast on some socks. I don't know. At this point I'm really babbling and it's been nearly an hour and I really didn't think it would be that long. I was only planning on doing a short video. So let me know what you think about, if you don't mind, my green shawl, crescent shawl, kind of like cinched up disaster. Do you have any better pattern suggestions? Should I just frog it? Should I knit a birds of a feather in the plain green as well? Because that would also be beautiful. And what yarn should I use for my colourwork socks? And if you have any amazing bear names, please share. So yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed speaking to you guys this morning. I'm going to try and get my boot back on. And I'm going to crack on the rest of my day. I hope you have a really lovely day. I'm enjoying the sun. I'm probably going to go out for a bit now. And yeah, alright, talk to you soon. Bye.